everyone, this is Kim with Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me. And today we are discussing unboxings. And no, I am not talking about an unboxing of a deck here. No, we are talking about my channel's relationship to unboxings. And so I just thought, you know what, let me, I don't know if I've actually ever did a video exclusively on one of the big aspects of my channel, and it made sense to do it now. I am in an active and now extended depth year for the year 2020, and in fact I am excited about the prospect of extending it into 2021 and having it end June of 2021 versus December of 2020. And yeah, so unboxings will probably be few and far between as we go into those months, but that just allows for me to be creative and come up with different things to record, which is fun and fine for me. But unboxings is where it started, where it began for my channel. Abundant Life Tarot, I forgot which video, which unboxing it could have been. Maybe it was the White Rabbit Oracle, I don't know, or maybe it was the, I don't know, I don't even know. I should have made a note of it, but it was an unboxing, and I just fell in love with other YouTube tarot readers or tarot deck collector unboxings. I love every aspect of it. I still to this day get excited about seeing someone's unboxing of a deck. It doesn't matter for me if the unboxing is a deck, unboxing of a deck that I have seen a dozen times. It doesn't matter. If a YouTuber has just decided to unbox that deck, and even though I've known about that deck for 5 years or whatever the case may be, it doesn't even matter. I want to see their perspective. I want to understand how they feel when they first see this deck. I know how I felt when I first saw it, but I'm curious to see how they responded to unboxing it. And so unboxings for me are so cool because they are supposed to be the YouTubers or the deck collectors' first impression of that deck, or first impression of opening up that box, because sometimes there's other goodies in there. And so that's what it's about. It's really a first impression of their particular deck that they are opening. So I love it. I love every aspect of unboxings. I watch people's unboxings all the time. So you would think, me being in a depth year, I wouldn't want to be doing that so much. And to be honest, for the first several months, like the first few months of my depth year journey, I did refrain from watching a lot of unboxings of decks that I don't have, even decks that I wasn't even that into. I was like, ooh, I should just stay away if I can. And over time, I started to be like, I can watch unboxings and be fine. And it's a process. What I do is if I see a deck that I love that's just been unboxed, I write it on my, I type it on my wish list, and I keep moving and don't think about it again if I can help it. So unboxings are still very much in my rotation on my YouTube consumption, what I watch when I'm watching Tarot Tube, if you want to call it that. So I thought it'd be fun to do a little nod to my unboxings and the relationship that Abundant Life Tarot has with it. I know people probably are wondering, well, and we'll get more into that. Actually, I won't get ahead of myself, but I'm curious to know how people feel about unboxings in 2020, and especially, with the pandemic. How do you feel about that? So I'm curious, and please feel free to share, or even do a video response at some point, just about how you feel in this new climate of unboxings and consumerism. And there's nothing wrong with us collecting decks, by the way. I just want to say that here. There is no judgment going on when I'm like saying I'm in a depth year or I'm watching what I'm doing. I have my own specific financial goals. I have my own life goals, spiritual goals that I'm after. And everybody's on their own individual journey. And if you want to collect right now and you feel called to accumulate and grow your collection like I did in 2019, in 2018 to be truthfully honest, brutally honest, oh, in 2017 too, all the years, it's okay. There is literally no judgment here from me to you or to anyone or to myself. I had to stop judging myself and say, hey, no, you were accumulating all these decks for a reason. Now in my death year, the reason why I'm not going off and buying a bunch of decks is because I am very satiated. I have all the decks that I can play with. If I get bored, I'm like, I haven't touched you at all since the unboxing I did. Let me pull you off the shelf and see what's up with you. You're like a brand new deck to me. So my collection is at a point where things are fresh. The ones that I'm like, I know I'm never going to really vibe with you, I've been selling those or gifting them to people who say, yeah, I want it. Wonderful, right? So my number of decks actually right now don't bother me. Actually, I've been playing around and enjoying my decks and finding different purposes for them. It's been fun. So yeah, let's get on into my discussion points for unboxings. So why do I like showing unboxings on my channel? And I touched upon it probably in the beginning here, is that, my channel started with an unboxing. And it's because I saw how excited other people were about getting new decks and sharing that impression with people. I thought that was just like magical to me. Like it still is. It's like Christmas. Every time I get a new deck, it is Christmas in my house. And wherever I am, in the car, if I'm like, oh, I got to grab the package out of the mailbox and drive off down the street. And I'm like trying to unbox it. I mean, I know I'm totally not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be focused, people, when you're driving. But let's say you're at a stoplight, you're like trying to wrestle with the box. That was me at one point, like just wanting to, even though I was going to unbox the deck later, just wanting to look at the outside was something exciting. So I love showing that emotion. I love relating to people in that way. Like, we just got a new toy, folks, and let's see what it do. Let's get into it. I get excited to share. And I never tire of that. So I figure as long as I have a channel and as long as I have a collection of something, I'm probably going to want to do an unboxing to show, because first impressions are everything. I could think of some decks where I was like, ooh, my first impression of it, like, I don't know if I was really excited. Like, I'll think back later after I've done an unboxing, I'm like, But then I'm like, no matter that reaction, no matter what it was, it's your perspective. I've purchased, I would say, 95 to 97% of my decks. One or two being gifted or given by a creator, and then the rest were like the little tiny percentage gifts from loved ones and friends and what have you. All the rest of my decks, as you all have seen in my Death Year video, my 6-month update part 2, where I do an analysis where I'm going through all the list of decks I have in my collection. Those are all purchased. I purchased all those decks. All those unboxings you've seen, those are from decks probably that I purchased. So my first impression, I like to think is genuine. So yeah, I love showing them, and I'll probably continue to show them. All right, so do I still own some of the decks that were featured, or all of the decks that were featured in my unboxing videos. And I'll say this. Any videos going forward from like 2020 forward, let's just say January 2020 going forward, will likely be decks that I still currently have in my collection. And what I mean by that is that I try to not publish deck or unboxings of decks I no longer own. So let's say, for example, I recorded an unboxing in July of 2019 and I never really used the deck, and then maybe I realized, oh, this deck is just not for me. So it's like now December 2019, and now the video is still sitting out there because I did the unboxing, right? But I'm like, I don't know if I want this deck, and I shuffle it. I do a couple of deck interviews on this deck to see if I even want to keep it, and then it's coming up like, no, this one is definitely one you need to pass on. So I say, okay, fine, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell this deck, and I sell it. And I never published the unboxing because I had so many other things I wanted to publish on the channel. I was like, forget about it. I'm not going to publish this one. I have a couple of those instances, and what I ended up doing was deleting those unboxings when I sold it or gifted the deck away. And at first, there will be like probably a couple in my backlog, and we'll talk more about my backlog of unboxing videos in a moment. But basically, I have quite a few unboxing videos that are just sitting, waiting to have final touches to be published, and waiting for me to do like a little I like to do a little write-up and then a link where people can buy the deck, you know. You do the proper thing where you can, at least if people want to purchase the deck, they can go there or find out more information about it. So there's a little bit that goes into it. Plus, I like to put the unboxing videos on my Facebook and you know, on my Instagram, you know, if I remember. So I need to be better about that. But I try not to show decks that I no longer have. I just feel like it just makes sense for me to, if people ask me questions about the deck and I still have it, I can go and grab it and be like, oh, okay, you know, yeah, this card definitely has this, and that. Here's a picture or this or that. It just, I don't know, it feels weird to me to be like, oh, I have an unboxing and now it's sold. I got rid of it. It's just, you know, and that could be a video too, but I just don't really like to do stuff like that. It's just not really it's not really my style. You know, I just like either and also that goes with the whole business of, do I do full-on negative reviews of decks, or do I, like, if I see a really, like, if I have a really gnarly kind of like this reaction, okay, this reaction, maybe I should not publish this. If there's a moment of that, I do kind of pause and say, let me sit with this. Should I put this out? That actually happened with for me, the Postcards from Spirit by Colette Baron Reed. I was really worried. It was one of my earlier videos. I was really worried about that deck. I wish I had it. It's upstairs. I don't have it. The Postcards from Spirit deck. And I did 2 videos on it because I was worried. Like, oh my gosh, you know, she might see this impression of like, I wasn't thrilled. I was super thinking it was one way, this deck. And it turned out it wasn't. It just was not what I expected at all. And I was like, the edges, like the cards were bigger than what Hay House normally makes. And the edges were sharpened. And I guess like now I know I can just round them, you know. But I just was worried. I was worried. So I did another video on that, like a follow-up. And I wanted to do a follow-up because I wanted to say, okay, if I end up using this deck and working with it, let me do a follow-up. Because that one, I kind of was like, oh, I didn't resonate with the whole thing. Now I like the deck. It serves a specific purpose in my reading practice. I never use it for readings for others. It's only for readings for myself. And I really go to it when I'm really feeling down. So it serves a specific purpose, but I didn't know that at the time. And so that unboxing sticks out in my mind because I remember being really concerned. Like, oh my gosh. But I was like, why am I concerned? It is my honest review. It is my honest impression. And I'm being really cool about the whole thing. I'm like, I understand this was, maybe a different direction she's going. And now I understand it ain't what I thought. But it worked out. But not every deck works out. I have 167, 66 decks now. Doesn't always work out, obviously. So I just don't necessarily show them. And so that's what I wanted to say is that now, out of print decks, I do sometimes choose to show them. And the reason being is that sometimes if you kind of put a buzz in a deck creator's ear, they might be inspired to resurrect a deck. Or it may not even be them. Maybe they're like, I totally would do another reprint, but the publisher, or I don't have a publisher, or the publisher who I'm with, they're like not doing anything right now. Maybe if you kind of start that buzz, that'll get it going. Because I'm excited about a deck. If I'm excited about an Oracle or Tarot deck that's out of print, and I know other people will really appreciate it, I'm like, I'm just going to talk about it and tell people why I love it so much and why this matters. And so what I would tend to do with maybe an out of print deck, and I haven't done it yet because I have a couple of out of print decks. The Delta Enduring is one that I only have. I pulled down the original one because I accidentally showed my address in that unboxing. Be careful with that. And my friends in my YouTube world are like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like, so that wonderful unboxing that I love so much because I love that deck, that Delta Enduring deck. I had to do a couple other videos, but I might do a deck in focus where I focus in on the deck later after the fact. If you ever see a deck in focus, that means that I probably did an unboxing and now I'm showing you that I'm still using this deck and I'm actually still quite in love with it. And this is how I'm working with it. So I don't get a chance to circle back like I would like to, but I have a feeling as I go into the next leg of my depth here, I'm probably going to be having more time to do more deck and focuses versus unboxings. Now we're going to do more of a focus on the decks I already have in my collection that you've probably seen in an unboxing. You're probably curious, does this lady still use this deck or what? And so you should be able to trust that if I'm putting an unboxing and you have a question about it, I probably still have it. But I'm discerning about decks I no longer own, but out of print I probably will put, because a lot of times the deck will go almost immediately out of print once it goes through after it goes through the pre-order stage. It might have been on Kickstarter, right? Or being back then. I'm talking about independently produced decks. It might have been on Kickstarter, then it goes to pre-order, and then there's this lapse of time where it's no longer going to really be available till it's either, picked up for another printing with the current publisher it's with or with the creator, or maybe mass marketly produced later, who knows. So I still will show decks because it might happen, and y'all, we might collectively make it happen. We might manifest that next printing. See how that works? I know this part I went way too long. I'm fearing I'm going to go way too long on this whole unboxing video, but I just had to delve into that because I was like, oh, I really need to flesh that out and think about that and kind of share with you all my thought process on this. It's important because I started thinking like, well, when I run out of all my unboxings, and I do have a slew of them, but when they do eventually run out, what's going to happen? Aha! We're going to focus on the ones I got in my collection, and we're going to see how we interact with them. So what makes the cut to publish? What makes an unboxing ready to be published on my YouTube channel or, on my website? So for example, let's see, this one. This is probably my most recent purchase that I broke my death year for. But this has been on my, I didn't break it. Let me stop saying that. This was not a break, okay? I have been lusting, and I have actual documented proof of a couple of Facebook postings of me lusting way back when this deck first was on the scene, okay? So, I unboxed it recently because there was a sense of, you know, we want to get out there as much as we can about Black creators and about fully melanated decks, you know, people of fully, you know, full color. Let me show you, like fully of colored folk, no, Black people. Let me show you. So I went ahead, just like I used to do back in the day, and just started, like, well, as soon as the mailman drove off, and like he kind of paused for a minute, I'm like, get out of the way, get out of the way, I need to go in the mailbox, get cool. So then I go and get it out. I couldn't even wait. I took a break on work and took my lunch early, and I was like, all right, we're unboxing. So I knew I wanted to use this deck right away. I knew a lot of people wanted to know about Black created, you know, people of color creating decks that depicted people of color and that were created by people of color. So it was important for me to get this unboxing out ASAP. Back when I first started my channel, it was important for me to get it out ASAP. Because I had no self-control. Like I had to unbox, like open it up quickly, and I wanted to showcase it on the YouTube channel so I could start playing with it right away, right? But over time, I got busier, and I got way busier, and then things just fell through the cracks. I just forgot, you know, it would just be like, oh, I forgot to publish that. Like, so many of them. There's so many of them that I forgot to publish, to the point that I've sold a couple of them. Like, I have some that are like a year old, guys. That's the backlog I'm talking about. I think I dropped a card. Sorry, I have to make sure I don't lose stuff. I don't like losing cards and such. Where'd you go? Anyways, so yeah, I'll just say this, that what makes it to publish is if A, I still own the deck, and B, yeah, if I still own the deck. That's pretty much it. It may be a while. It may be a good long while before I publish it. And I'm sorry, it's just this thing I got going on right now. So yeah, so that's what makes the cut. If I own it, and there's some of them that bump up the list because of certain priorities going on in our community, and then otherwise I go in the order in which I was getting them. So I'm like literally a year out, and that's because I went crazy and bought a whole bunch of decks like a crazy person, like you will see in my death year videos. I was totally transparent with you all. I love transparency, as you could probably tell. So, yeah, what makes the cut? Let me own it, let me unbox it, and we're raring to go. Well, yes, do I have some unboxings that don't make the cut? Yes, they do. That does actually happen, where, and I mentioned it in my point before, I definitely have decks that just never made it. And I delete them. I don't even save them for later. Like, oh, maybe I might get it later. Because if I got the deck later, then I'll just do an unboxing then and say, you know what, I actually owned this deck back when, and then I got rid of it. That also is a rare thing that happens in my collection. I rarely give up decks. If I do give away decks, it's usually to my son or a friend or a relative. It's rarely like, and I hate selling decks because I can be kind of lazy when it comes to, you know, not lazy when it comes to shipping, because I want to, you know, deliver, but just the whole, like, okay, you got to market it, you got to know the price and all this and that. And so I try, this is why I'm super, super picky now about decks that would come into my collection. And I hope I'm picky after the depth year. I don't want any decks just chilling on my shelves if it can be helped. Okay? That's just what I want. So, might be a small want, might be a big want, but it's a want. And now with my depth year, it's just, now I know more than ever that that's how I want to roll. So, yeah, there are some that didn't make the cut. The Chrysalis Tarot did not make the cut. I did do an unboxing of that deck, and I might have even featured it in a favorites video before I unboxed. I think I did. I think I featured it, but I was just like, you know what? How I bought that deck was I got a reading from a professional reader at a very local new metaphysical shop in the town, one of the towns next, so like over from here. And I wanted to be supportive of the shop and purchase something. And they actually, in their city, are not allowed, even though we live in the same county, and I don't live in the city per se. I live in an unincorporated area. So I am able to read tarot, get paid for it, all that good stuff. In the city that they're in, they're not able to get paid for it. They can get tips, but they cannot get paid for, I don't even know if they can get tips. I thought they could. Maybe I tried to tip them. I don't remember. But anyway, she was good because she actually kind of predicted about my whole leaving my last company and kind of moving forward. And anyways, so I was like, oh, I need to do something. So I bought a deck from them in like a stone or something like that. And I was like so deeply grateful for the reading. I can't believe that. Just the city over, they're like, no, you can't get paid for readings. So crazy. But not my county. They're like, oh, that sounds awesome. Good luck. I'm like, so I'm like, thanks. So yeah, there are some that didn't make the cut. So I sold the Chrysalis Tarot, and I'm hoping that it, you know, lands in a place that's well loved. It was a moment in time. I had a reading from that deck. It was on point. I wanted to support the shop. I thought I would love it because I had such an amazing reading. But turns out it wasn't a deck that I could resonate with. And that's fine. It's time for it to move on. So it did. And there you go. There is a deck that did not make the cut. So follow-up. Basically, that would be my deck in focus video series that I have. Is an ongoing series. I just don't really tend to it because I never really circle back like I should to show you all how I'm working with the deck later. But the other way I do constant follow-up is through my favorites videos, which are faithful on my channel. Unboxings and favorites videos are constants on my channel. I try to stick to it because it's my way of kind of reconnecting with our group, our tribe here that we've got going. It's my way of kind of saying, okay, what was I using? What was I into this month? It's really good because what happens is it becomes my my information, my data, if you will, for my end of the year videos that we love to do so much on YouTube, which is to say, this was my favorites of 2019. This was my favorites of 2020. My top 10 tarot decks. My top 5 most used oracle decks of 2020. Well, what I do is I consult my favorites videos and I say, oh, that one's the one that kept coming up this year. So that is the one that's going to be definitely included in my favorites. So that feeds into that information going forward. But that is one of the ways you can trust that that's where follow-up is happening. If I, post something on Facebook, in my Facebook group or my Facebook page for Abundant Life Tarot, or on my Instagram for Abundant Life Tarot, you will see, oh, she's using decks that she unboxed. That's the follow-up that I do. for my videos that are featured in unboxings. This one's my favorite. These are definitely my honest opinions. Like I mentioned before, I purchase mostly all of my decks. So if I'm purchasing a deck, chances are I'm gonna want to get a deck that I like. You know, it's my hard-earned money. This lady works hard, man. Like, she's working. I'm working. So let me tell you, I'm not trying to spend my money on decks that are not going to be ones I vibe with. Like I mentioned with the Chrysalis, probably my purpose and my intention of what I was getting it, like when in retrospect, when you look back at it, you're like, that's not the reason I should have got a deck. I mean, maybe I got it for memorabilia more so than I got it for, oh, I'm going to be working with this deck. I've been working with the Afro Tarot. We've been working together. It felt instantly in love. The Light Seers, we've been working together. The Gaian, we tight. But the Chrysalis just sat there because we weren't. And it was because that probably wasn't the right reason to get the deck. I mean, let me say this. There are a couple of decks in my collection that are just strictly just for being in my collection. My sister got a deck in Spain that's in Spanish, and I have to use a translator app to be able to interpret. It's actually really accurate, but I don't understand Spanish, so I have to actually, you know, it's more so for us to have a little moment together and a memory thing, right? There's certain decks in our collections that's going to be more about that than anything, and that's okay. But I just, you know, for my tarot collection, I always wanted to keep it a little tighter. And I realized this year in my 2020 depth year analysis that it shot up and got way more expansive than I really wanted it to be. I like to have a more tighter tarot collection. And I'm okay with having more oracle because I use tarot decks more like my entree or main course in my tarot readings, and then the oracle oftentimes augments it. So the oracle could either be the appetizer, or it could be a side dish, or it could be the dessert. There are times I use certain oracle decks like the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle as a main course, but rare. It's rare that I use an oracle deck as a main course. It's usually tarot, that's my main course, and then I have oracle. So I have a main course, which I'm vibing with all the time, building that relationship with my tarot decks, my working decks, my decks for my clients. And then my oracle decks, I give a little more carte blanche because I'm like, okay, you might be used for this kind of reading. You might be used for that. And I just kind of, you know, that's why I love video tarot readings, because it allows for me to play with tarot readings like I like, which is I like to like do it like a smorgasbord, which is why I like having such an expansive deck collection where I can say, okay, I feel like this today, and you know, this is my tarot deck. Here's the deck I'm going to use for my opening for the oracle, and here's the deck I'm going to use for clarifying, blah blah blah, whatever. So those are my honest opinions. All that to say, that's my honest opinion. I'm not buying decks and trying to waste money. And so if I also like gasp, or I'm like, oh, I don't know about this card. Oh, I don't know. And then you might, you know, you could ask me later, oh, well, how'd you feel about it? Ooh, I wasn't sure. And I can have that level of comfort because I purchased the deck. So I can give you my honest opinion. And then I could say, well, I start working with it in this way. Or I say, you know what, to be honest, it's just been sitting on the shelf. Whereas if someone is, you know, the deck is given, you know, exchange for promotion, there's a different dynamic that goes on there with that. And that's okay. I'm not, hey, people get free decks and do promotions. That's A-okay with me. It's just, that's not what happened in my collection. My collection grew fast. It grew furious. And I had a whole bunch of unboxings. I chose to spend my disposable income on that, and that's what I did. So here we are. There will definitely be more unboxing videos, like I mentioned before. There will be, because I enjoy them. Will there be as many once I get through my backlog? Probably not. Like, that's where the deck and focuses will come into play, right? That's where my favorites videos come into play. That would be how I kind of get along through my depth year, and I'm okay with that. And there are going to be probably instances that I do break my depth year. Oh well. I mean, no, it's not like that, but you know what I mean? It's like, so there may be an instance where someone gives me a deck, and that has happened. Actually, the bulk of my decks that came in 2020 were gifted or free decks or complimentary decks. Not like, oh, in exchange for promotion, but like, oh, I'm at the Tarot Symposium, for example, and Llewellyn's there, and they're giving away decks. And they gave away decks, you know, to the attendees. Well, I got a deck in that way. And then I have friends who want to give me decks. And so I didn't really have to buy many decks this year. I mean, this was definitely one. And I said, I talked about it on my channel. I'm consciously breaking my depth year to purchase this one. It has been a deck I love. No regrets for breaking my depth year for it. And that happens, right? But I try not to make that a habit. And it has been the last deck I bought since I broke my depth year pack. And again, it's not a breaking, because I had a rule that if it was on my wish list, then, you know, prior to the depth year, then I could technically purchase it. But I kind of like to live in the real world. I broke it. I broke the rule. So, that's how I plan on getting along with my depth year. Okay, this one's fun because I've been talking about it this whole time. So, what about that backlog? Yes, what about the backlog? I will definitely be still publishing some of my unboxings of either decks that have gone out of print. Sorry, folks, I'm going to publish some of those. I just feel like you should, like, especially, I will only publish the ones too, by the way, that I really am still connecting with, that I have a connection with, and that I'm hoping against hope that maybe the creator or the publisher will say, you know what, let's do this again. But chances are 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a deck that I already have in my collection that I love, that I'm sharing with you all, and the backlog will be commencing. So I'll be sprinkling the backlogged videos, all of my content, really, my unboxings especially, throughout my new content. So you'll probably even sometimes see content with old, like, you know, my little label I like to have on my video that comes in. You'll see those as like way back when. Oh, well, you know. And I might even do a couple of premieres. We'll see, where I might be go along and watch with you. Like, oh my goodness, let's see. I haven't watched in forever. I don't even know what's happening. So, and I might even do a subsequent video of deck and focus. If I did a old unboxing for my backlog, I might put up a, what do you call it? Like a post video. I think I did that for, oh, you haven't seen the post yet. You'll see it soon. But there is a deck that I did that, and I talk at length about it. So don't worry about that. Anyways, I just want to say that, yeah, the backlog videos of all my unboxings will be coming. It's just going to be taking time because I have so much other content I want to share with you all, that unboxings, as much as I love them, are not right now my priority for the channel. So they're coming. They just will take their time, and that's okay, right? I mean, there's so many people who are doing unboxings of decks as soon as they come out. I used to be that YouTube creator where as soon as the deck came out, I'm lickety-split publishing it and putting it on the channel. And now I may have gotten the deck like way back when, like right after the Kickstarter ended. But you guys ain't even seen it for several months. So I've evolved and changed in how I am putting the content out there. And I just have had to come to accept that about me about where my channel is going and where it's at, and being okay with that. And so I thought this was a good time to talk about unboxing videos and first impression videos, because there's always a place for them in our tarot, oracle, Lenormand collecting world. Because how else are we going to know what greatness lies beneath the box? What's inside there? It makes it so much fun to be a collector in 2020 and beyond, right? It's so awesome to be able to go on, look at people's videos, look at how they responded to what they've seen and gone through the cards and the book and how they relate to it. It's really magical, and I'm so happy we have that. We have that benefit. It makes, like I said, it made me collect probably way more decks than I should have. But on the other hand, I enjoyed every moment of it. I really did. I still do. I still do. So that's it. That's all, folks. I didn't want this to be super long, but of course I'm sure it will be. And it was high time that I spent a little moment chit-chatting about the beloved or infamous or hated and loathed unboxings, because apparently people have opinions on them these days. They're like, oh my goodness, I am so sick of seeing them. I need more depth to my videos. And I understand that, and I get that. I totally get it. But there's still a lot of us, me included, who appreciate a good unboxing, okay? So they're still going to be around. They're going to be around on someone else's channel. They might be here from time to time. And that's what it is. So there you go, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. So much love. So many blessings to each and every one of you. And until the next video, take good care of yourselves.